Alex Renner, we finally got the time to do this after
We
not
did.
chatting for months and months. How are you doing?
I know. Very good, very good. How you doing there?
Dude, not bad. Canada's cold, but it's good. It's good over here. It's not too bad, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly, exactly.
You're about to be a married man. Is that
I
correct?
am. I've
How many
got
weeks?
2 months. Let's see. I should probably have it down to the weeks. My fiance is going to kill me. 10 weeks. 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
Bought the suit
Damn.
today. I literally just got back from
Okay.
buying the suit today.
Yeah. Nice
Yeah.
nice little bow tie.
Got the bow tie, got the tux, the nice lapels and everything. The classic kind of James Bond tux look, you know? Like I wasn't going for all the frills and stuff. I'm very like classic, just keep it cut and dry, simple. That's what I need.
And you got a little ghost on the front pocket or on the little handkerchief too for ghostwriting?
That is a great idea because it's all the black and white. Like if I've got the little thing, I get like the logo right there. That'd be perfect. Yeah.
The little white ghost.
Yeah.
And dude, you've been traveling quite a bit while running your agency and whatnot. Where are you at right now?
So my fiance is Irish. We live in Ireland right now. Let's see, we met how many years ago? 7 years ago now. We were in Vietnam. We lived there for 2 years. We traveled for about 7 years. We were in Indonesia for a year. We were in Japan, New Zealand, Argentina, the US, and then back to Ireland. So we've settled down here about 2 years ago. We had all the problems with COVID trying to get the visas, so we kind of had to extend our trip a little bit. But yeah, but now we're settled down and we're getting married in France. So just all over the place.
Damn, you are a true nomad. And so yeah, congratulations on the wedding and the travels. Must have been
Cheers,
a
appreciate it.
blast.
Yeah. Oh, wedding. It's like a part-time job though. Like it's just I like I'm the guy. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I want the suit and the music and the food and it's sorted, but there's just so much that goes into it." Like,
Yeah,
oh my
so
God.
many little things. You'll probably be working on that wedding till like the night before the day.
Literally, I know I
Yeah,
will be. Like, yeah. Yeah. Whew.
that's crazy. And planning it while you're traveling too. I'm curious, what is the experience of being a digital nomad and ghostwriting on the road being like for you?
Yeah, like that's the thing is that for the longest time, I feel like everybody just you had an idea of like work was like you had one location, you had to be there, but now as soon as we've got, Zoom and the internet and everything, and you kind of work wherever you want to. Like for people like me, like it just being in one place. Like I've been in Ireland for 2 years now, and I love Ireland. I love it so much, but like that travel bug is just constantly pulling to go. So
Yeah.
like we're traveling most, at least once a month, going to different places. It's easy around Europe because of Ryanair. But yeah, like when you're trying to work and stuff like that, it can kind of get difficult to manage it. But like you just kind of you get to a place where you just you got to get your passport and your visa and all this other stuff set, and then you bring your laptop and like we were just in Belgium last week, and I could just bring my laptop and just sit on the train and do work and do stuff like that, which
Nice.
it's a blessing because I know a lot of people don't have that option. So I like for me, it's just that's the kind of life I want to live.
Yeah. For a lot of people, that digital nomad being able to travel anywhere and having the money to do so is the end goal for them. It's
Yeah,
something they really want is that time and location freedom.
yeah.
Can you give me a little background on yourself? Did you always have this kind of freedom, or is it something you really strove for?
Well, see, and I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that you have to be like established and you have to be making money and then you can go travel and do all this other stuff. Like I literally graduated. I worked in politics for about a year in the States. It was too much. Got out of
In
that.
politics?
In politics,
What
yeah.
what the hell? What role did you do?
Yeah, so I was working in a political campaign, and basically my job was like helping like sign people up, doing some communication stuff with them. But like it was the time, it was what was it? It was 2016. So like it was just right in the middle of that election in 2016. It was just so angry and hateful. I was like, I can't do this. Like I'm not cut out for that. So yeah, but I think the main mistake though is that like people think like, oh, I have to be making so much money, or I could never travel, I can never do this. Like I literally had no money. I just got a job as an online teacher. Did that for a few years, like while I was traveling and doing stuff. And then while I was teaching, I was like, I don't want to be a teacher like my whole life. So I tried a bunch of different things, and then I like landed on writing because I kind of had a background with some communication stuff, and it just kind of once you kind of like fall, ass backwards into it sometimes, where you don't even think you're going to end up doing something. You just kind of like land on it, and that's how I landed on writing. Was I was just traveling and wanted to make some money. I saw people like you making money. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go do that now.
Damn. I love your confidence. How
Yeah.
did you, when you first got into writing, what type of writing were you doing? Was it always ghostwriting or something else?
No, see, I've been writing now for what year is it? 2025? Probably since like right before COVID is when I was really starting to get into it, like 2019, 2020. And I was doing a lot of like um, direct response copy. So I started doing like websites, landing pages, emails, sales pages, all those kind of things. And like it was good. I could, find some clients, and I was at first I started on like Upwork and Fiverr and all the job sites and everything.
Hmm.
But like you can't build a business on that and just relying on referrals and stuff like that. And like I would have some months where I would do, really well, five, six, seven a month, and then some months where I'd make like one to two a month, 2,000. Like and then like that just never knowing where your next client was coming from and all that stuff, it was soul sucking. Like there's so many times I was like, oh, I have to quit. I want to go back to 9 to 5. I want to go back, get a corporate job, this or that. But that's why it was actually meeting you, joining. I can't remember what the name it was at the time. It's micro creators now. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like seeing that like there was another world outside of just doing like direct response, that it was like content. That would have been about a year and a half ago. I started flirting with that idea. I think I joined you guys about a year ago.
Yeah.
Um, and then immediately with content, the big difference is that people need constant consistently. So you could sign more retainers. It was much easier. Like most people only need like one website, one or two landing pages, this or that, but they need content consistently. So I was able to get like, I think in June was my first big month in content, and I had like 7 clients, and like I was working to the bone, but like that's like the first time I hit 10K was in June. But now that wasn't consistent. I had to, dial it back to kind of build out the systems and figure things out more. But like
Mhm.
once you kind of start signing clients and you get some results, it just kind of builds and grows from there.
Yeah, that's a wild journey.
Yeah.
Starting, so when you were, so many questions I have from this. When you were writing on Upwork and Fiverr as a freelancer, what types of prices were you able to charge? And what types of prices can you charge now that you're a ghostwriter?
So when I first started, like I didn't have any, like I had very little testimonials. I remember I was doing jobs like entire websites for like $300. Or I did what's that? There's a platform, not GoFundMe, but it's like Kickstarter. It was Kickstarter. It was some kind of
Yeah.
like Kickstarter, landing page. Some guy made some kind of thing, and I wrote for him, and I think it was like a Kickstarter like landing page thing, and I think I charged him like $200 from it,
Mm.
but that Kickstarter campaign ended up selling out. He made, the campaign ended up doing like 10K or something in the first month. And that was the first kind of testimonial I got. And once I got that first
Mm.
one, I kind of like snowballed it. I was like, okay, so now every proposal and everything I put out, I was like, okay, I just helped this guy get 10,000 in the first month from a Kickstarter campaign. My price is now 300. My price is now 500.
Mm.
I get another client. I get some kind of result for them. It takes time, but like you get those results. Now it's 1,000. Like ghostwriting, it really depends on the client.
Mm.
Now that I've got success and I've kind of transitioned my ghostwriting from being more viral based to being more leads based, and we can talk about
Yeah.
that more. But like when I first started, I would do like maybe 1,000 for a client.
Hmm.
Now the lowest I'll do usually, I make a few exceptions if I really like the person and want to work for them, but like the lowest I'll do is anywhere from 2,000 the lowest to like I think 4,500 was the largest retainer assigned. So like, but
Nice.
like basically I'm just constantly testing the market. So I'm like, if people say yes, my price goes up. If people start saying no, then I kind of bring it down a little bit, keep it there. And I'm just slowly like, what is the market telling me I'm worth? And then, okay, so that's it. And then I keep getting better and better and better results. And then I'm like, okay, so now my results are better. I'm going to go test the market again. I'm going to go throw those rates up again. And
Yeah.
it takes time. I wish I could say it's like, it only takes like a year or two, but like it takes time.
It does. That's so true. And your point about proof is also really important that you do the work you can do whether it's free or cheap, like low
Yeah.
paid work to get the proof, and then with every piece of proof you get, you raise those prices.
Yeah.
When you transitioned from copywriting into ghostwriting, what was it like trying to land clients without ghostwriting social proof?
Yeah. I think it was almost like starting over again, but not really because I had done enough. Like emails and some of the like the stuff. It is kind of similar to content, so I was able to kind of show some of the results I'd gotten from my email campaigns or stuff like that. But like, yeah, it was kind of like starting over again in a way. But at least I had some kind of things to back up. I remember my first two clients, ghostwriting clients, I got them. It was honestly like a month working with you guys, and I had just been working on my proposals and stuff on like I think it was Upwork, and I got the first two clients, and I got like I remember one of my clients had a post do like 25,000 impressions, and at that time like that was
Damn.
really really big for me. Like I was never doing anything like that, and then I was able to snowball that into there was a company that does like they do like thought leadership kind of viral content, and then I was able to take those kind of results and applied for them. I think you actually put me in touch with them. But yeah, I took that
Yeah.
job, worked for this agency. I only worked there for like 2 months, but had really good results from them. I was constantly taking screenshots and building the proof like, okay, now I know that I'm not just a good writer. I can work with these big guys, get results for them. I took those proof. And then, it's a lot easier then to like, that was when I was really transitioning into LinkedIn. And I
Yeah.
was just talking about those results constantly in my LinkedIn. And, then somebody sees me and then I get one client and he refers me to another client. That's how I kind of snowballed into basically LinkedIn.
I feel like every time you answer a question, it brings up 50 more questions for me,
Good. I like that.
which is a good thing. I often tell people who are starting out in ghostwriting that one of the best paths to get social proof and to get paid to get the social proof is to work for an agency. It
Yeah.
sounds like that worked quite well for you before you landed your first clients. What was the experience working with the agency like for those 2 months? And you can be as honest as possible.
Yeah. It was shit. It was absolute shite. So looking back, I'm glad I did it. Like it has probably been one of the best things I did for my career because I was able to get results. I'm not gonna out any names or anything, but like it was basically like a content mill kind of agency. Like they were just hiring people and they promised all these numbers that you're gonna make this much and then this. But basically it was some young guys getting going. I don't blame them. They're young, they're getting going, they're starting to build their own agency. They said, you'd have X amount of clients, you do this, we're gonna give you an onboarding period, all this other stuff. Basically got very little to no support from them once I trained in. Like they kind of showed me how to log into their Notion, and that was kind of okay. Now go right, and then they said I was going to be working with some of the other people for like, 2 months learning from them before, and that I would only have like two clients at the beginning. But like immediately after the first like week, they're like, can you take three, four, five, six clients? So I was all of a sudden, I went from like not knowing their system or anything to having like six clients. The pay was shocking. Like it was fine, but it was not great. But I was just my whole mindset there was like, I'm not going to do this forever. I'm in here to get some results and whatever. And I don't think everybody should go into an agency job with that mindset, because there are some agencies that are really good and they're growing and they're trying to help people become better writers or better marketers or salespeople or whatever. That just wasn't my experience with this company, and I've got no hard feelings because it worked out really well in the end for me. Like I think 2 months after I left that company is when I hit 10K. So like obviously I'm not salty, but no, it was shit. It was a bad experience, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's everyone has that beginning period that's really rough. For me, it was working
Yeah.
for free for 6 months.
6 months, man. Whew.
Yeah, it was 6 months, and the guy that I was working for, he didn't even want to bring me on, but I kept pushing and pushing, and he finally said,
Yeah.
"Okay, write a couple threads, and I'll give you a
Yeah.
shot." And he lived in the UK, and I was living in the west coast of Canada. So he would call me at 2:33 in the morning and wake me up and say, "I need two threads in the next 2 hours." And it was this energy of, if you don't do it, then I'm not just going to work with you anymore because I don't need you. I'm like doing
Yeah.
you a favor by letting you get experience. So I would get up out of bed. I would write through my bloodshot eyes, like in my bed in my pajamas for 2 hours. I would send them off to him, and then I would go back to bed for 2 to 3 hours. Then I'd get up and go to work. And I did that for months.
I cannot believe people do that. But like it happens. Like I hear those stories. Like people treat some freelancers and stuff like absolute shite. And it's horrific.
It can be horrific in the beginning and tough to not get exploited, which it sounds like you
Yeah.
got exploited pretty hard,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate because, as you said, there are some really good agencies and
Yeah.
great opportunities to get experience and proof.
Yeah.
What was so you mentioned your mindset was this isn't going to be forever, but it sounds like that would have been really stressful, lots of pressure. How do you deal with that mentally in that situation and with your clients?
Yeah. So like you're saying when I was at the agency, like how I was dealing with it?
Yeah, and even now, because you're
Yeah.
crushing, it. You got quite a bit of clients. You've
Yeah.
scaled to working like 7 clients yourself at a
Yeah.
time and whatnot. How do you deal with the pressure, the stress, all of that?
Very little sleep and a lot of coffee. Um, like
The
there's
healthiest of
no
methods.
there's like everyone's always looking for some magic pill about how all of this works, and just a lot of it is just you have to grind, you have to put in the work and the hours, because like I could have very easily have said, okay, you know what, I'm okay on 6K a month. I'm only going to take on two or three clients, and then I would have had a social life. I would have had this and that more. Like I would have slept a lot more, maybe gone to the gym more. But like I am ambitious. Like I wanted to, achieve more. I knew I could. And the way I think about it is that if I'm going to get results, the fastest way to get results and to grow is to try and sign as many clients as I can, write as many posts I can, go through as many processes, onboarding, delivery, sales processes, and learn, constantly learning. And I was like, if I sit back and just say, okay, two to three clients, 6K, that's enough for me, like I would have just delayed my learning. So like I've kind of just like put myself in the hot seat and was like, okay, so I'm going to kind of overdo it, push myself, and then, that has now taken that learning time that would have taken, 2 years is now 1 year because I'm working twice as hard.
Yeah.
Like I am a big believer that, you shouldn't work and burn out and everything, but you're young when you're young, you're just getting started, push yourself. Like I am no Elon Musk fan. I'm not an Elon guy, but he was saying like something like, if I had just worked a 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, I could have done all this stuff, but it would have taken me like, 20 years. But because I work 100 hours a week, now it's taken me, instead of like 30 years to do all these things, it's taking me like 5 years. And I'm like, okay, so if I can just do that for a few years, get my reps in, grind, learn everything, like I'm just trying to soak up as much as possible. And then, I've already learned things even about growing businesses and scaling and lead gen that I wouldn't have had that opportunity had I just been like, you know what, I'm okay with my just ghostwriting. I'm okay on 6K. I'm, fine. So like eventually whenever I do want to like really scale and do all those other things, I'm just constantly learning. So I'll know what to do when that time comes.
I love that. I love that so much. It's a philosophy that I adopted quite a few years ago when I started online in 2022 was if I just give this 5 really good years, working
Yeah.
lots, sacrificing more than most people
Yeah.
will that set me up for the rest of my life? And I'm only 3 years in, and it already feels like it's paid off to that
Yeah.
level of dividends.
Yeah.
So, man, I love that advice for new ghostwriters who are thinking about going all in.
Yeah.
It's like, man, even just a couple of good years will change
Exactly.
everything.
It's not the lesson most people want to hear, because most people just want like, oh, there's some magic trick or some, if I learn this one copywriting trick now, all of a sudden this is gonna, do like there's so many different things. You just got to get into it.
It's true. And speaking of getting into it, so can you share real quick how many clients have you worked with at this point?
In total, like
Yeah,
at
for
least
ghostwriting.
at least 20.
Damn.
Um, yeah. And then like I do coaching too, so like I coach people on LinkedIn as well, but that's, kind of separate. But like actual ghostwriting, it's probably like it's in between like 18, 19, 20 in that area.
Damn.
I've
Okay,
never
that's a lot
actually
of
sat down
clients.
and counted. Like that is one thing that I've found though with being a ghostwriter
Yep.
is that retention is an issue. That you've got to learn how to solve it because
Yep.
I've found that if people have like it depends on the business and their offer and when they want results, but I found that some people think that contents in LinkedIn and a ghostwriter just writes their posts and magically they get leads. But that doesn't happen immediately. There's other things that go into it. So like if you've got like 1,000 followers, it's going to take a lot of time to build up your personal brand and all the things that need to happen for you to go viral on a consistent basis. But some people don't have that time frame. Everything is so short. They've got such a short time frame that they're not willing to put in. They get like it's kind of like it's almost like a productivity dip. They get really high and excited and everything. Things are going well. Their posts are going out. They're really excited that one post did really well, whatever, and then they find out that things kind of dip, and like the dip is normal, everybody goes through the dip, but it stables out and then it starts climbing back up again. But I feel like some people just don't have that long time frame. I'm like, if you give anything 1 year, it's gonna succeed, but if you give something 2 3 months, you're really narrowing down. You've gotten to the dip. You might be at the hump. You start going down, and then what? You're gonna stop being on LinkedIn. Like you're getting to the part where like LinkedIn separates all the people who actually succeed versus all the people who most of 90, I would say 95% of the people who just they get to this point, they get a little bit of success, they get happy, drops off, and then they just quit. And that's the hardest thing when you're working with clients is like being like, stick with it. There's a plan, there's a process. We're not trying to do XYZ. We're doing long-term growth here.
Mhm.
You have to learn how to explain that path to clients as well.
That makes sense. And is that why you transitioned into a lead gen focused offer was to solve the retention problem?
Yeah, I think that was a big part of it. I started working with a company that does a lot of lead gen, so like naturally I was like just around all of it. But what I found was when I was doing all the viral kind of content and getting loads of impressions and followers, that was when everything was really inconsistent. Nothing was predictable. Like it was like I could have a post that would do like 40, 50, 60K impressions on a day and sign zero clients. And I was like something's not adding up. Like I'm doing the right things. I'm doing what everybody's telling me to do. I'm this post went viral, whatever. Why is nobody reaching out to me? And then I was looking at my content. I was like, yeah, but I'm talking about like the best, slogans from Apple or something like that. Like, yeah, that's really cool. That's really interesting. That's great information. And it's good that I know it and can communicate it in a way to other people. But that doesn't sign me clients. So what I did is then I shifted to just lead gen, and I was like, okay, so now instead of talking about viral and just brand building, I was like, I'm gonna go lead gen, and everything's gonna be like showing results and talking about like my direct experience and all these other things. And I noticed that when I made that change to talking about what other people are doing, industry case studies, like all these misconceptions, big kind of things, when I shifted into like what I did, my experience, my personal thing, what I've learned, how I've helped my clients, their results, the results I helped other people get, I started to get more clients. Like even though my impressions went down, I started to get more people reaching out to me being like, "Hey man, saw your post. That was really cool. I'm also struggling with that, or I'm doing this thing right now and I see you talk about it all the time." And they were resonating with that. So I started to get some more clients. With that being said, what I've found is that I don't think that that's the perfect way either. I think there's a middle ground between viral and lead gen where it's like you take all these things in the viral, you take these misconceptions, and then you merge it with your own experience and then the results. So you talk about, so like one of the biggest things that I see people talk about is like, you should spend 3-4 hours commenting or engaging on everybody's posts. Yeah. And I'm just like, I did that. I didn't see any like sustainable or like significant growth from doing that. Like even if people commented on my thing, like who's gonna read Jasmine Alich's, or however you say his name, who's gonna read Jasmine's comment, scroll down 100 comments, find my name, click on my profile, read my stuff, and then want to hire me? If anything, they're gonna want to hire Jasmine because he gets all this other stuff and everything. I just didn't feel like it was worth my time to do that stuff. But that's what I'm talking about, is misconceptions, addressing those things. But if I can frame that as like, okay, so this is these things that you're doing right now. I've got data that proves that that thing's not working, that I've got all these results that how I do things, they do work. So if I can kind of marry those two ideas of like, hey, this misconception is wrong, that's kind of talking about the viral thing. I can still have a post that does like 20,000 views that goes viral, kind of contrarian, bold take on this misconception, on this idea. And then how can I marry that with what I'm doing differently to build myself up as an authority? I feel like that's kind of the middle ground. And I'm still like scratching that surface right now on how to do that perfectly.
I love your approach because in some ways it's very similar to what Dale and I have been thinking through. We call them nested posts, where you open with something that hits your total addressable market or is as broad as you can go without being outside of your niche.
Yeah,
And then as you go down the post, it gets closer to a lead gen post.
exactly. That's it.
Yeah. But if you like you said, if you just go with like a niche lead gen post, it just knocks out a lot of the impressions you can get and people don't see it.
Exactly. I think about it instead of like the funnel, I think of it as a bullseye. So like if this is the consumer, this is the person who's paying for me, I feel like there's 3 layers: the consumer, then your ICP. So like your ICP is like all the people you would like to work with, but they're not perfectly your consumer. They're kind of close, they're not there. And then all of those people are in your niche. So like if you can marry a way to talk about, because like your consumers, like they might be reading Lara Costa or Dakota or something. So they're reading all these things in the niche about the big viral topics. They're reading um, what is it, $100 million whatever by Hormozy. So they're thinking about those things. So if I can talk about a thing that's in that niche and then directly tie it back to the thing I do, to my ideal clients, and even the people who are going to be my customers, prospects, that I think is like very valuable in the way people can think about content that I don't think I fully even understand myself yet, but I'm constantly testing and trying to learn these things.
For sure. The student is becoming the master.
Man, I read so much of your stuff. So many I think you are so good because you're the philosophy. You know, like I think of like because I come from politics and communication. I studied political science. Like everything is messaging, and like one of the big things in politics is you have to be able to say it in one sentence, one phrase, or sorry, one word, one sentence, one phrase, and an entire book has to fill in messaging. Like when I think of you, I think of like writing philosophy. Like that's your one thing. And then you can expand it and say like ghostwriters and how we do like the frameworks and the hooks. But like you have to have that one thing. For me, you are like the philosophy, like the that, deep thinking behind all these things.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. I will take that as a badge of honor.
I like it. I like it.
I will.
Very
I
good.
will.
Very good.
One thing I remember about working with you was, well, I remember we did a call when I was traveling. I was in Cape Town and I was in a
Oh
coffee
yeah.
shop.
You were in
And
a
you were,
what?
I was in a coffee shop. I think I was in a Starbucks working.
How do you remember these things, man? I can't remember where I was, 2 weeks ago. Like,
Yeah, I don't know why, but for some reason I remember my call with you. Like you stood out to me as someone that I was like, damn, I'd love to work with this guy. I hope he does join the community and we get to help him out. I remember chatting with Dale about it after, and you joined and you just exploded. Like you were one of those students we worked with that something just seemed to click.
yeah.
I've never asked you what the aha moment was or what really led to that explosive growth. Like how did working with Dale and I like help you just make that shift and then all of a sudden you're like "Poof," and you were crushing it as a ghostwriter?
Yeah. And thank you for saying I was crushing it. I like to hear that. I'm not sure if I was, but I grew like pretty fast. So like 10,000 in like 8 months, I think, or something. So like that was pretty good. But is there one aha moment? I think it was like a culmination of like a lot of things. Like I feel like from my direct response, like I kind of knew, like I studied Joanna Weeb, do you know copy hackers and all that?
I
Yeah,
don't.
she does direct response stuff. She's great. She does a lot of psychology stuff. I'd studied her a lot, and I knew the kind of like I was interested in the psychology of everything, but I feel like going with you guys, I had started going on LinkedIn and trying to do content, but I wasn't like the first few months, I just wasn't really seeing success. And then once I joined you guys, there was content frameworks that like I was just missing that you guys kind of filled in those gaps for me. Like little things that I had known from all the other stuff, but like one of the things like I still do to this day is like you had talked about the SCAR framework. Was it symmetry, contrast, alliteration, repetition, rhythm?
Yep.
And like basically everybody in your post remembers, most people remember the first and the last thing. So if you end on like a banger last thing, so like if that's just like a writing technique, symmetry and alliteration, so people remember. Most people, they're not going to remember 90% in the post. They don't remember the exact solution. They don't remember. But if they remember like money isn't the goal, money is the, whatever, some kind of like contrast or some kind of alliteration there. Like they remember that shit and it just stays in their head. And then the next time they see your post, they've kind of forgotten everything else, but they remember, oh yeah, that guy, he's a good writer. I remember that. I saw something and like his face and everything's kind of clicking with me here. And I feel like there's like a bunch of stuff working with you guys that I learned, like hooks, like what was it, the 5 Ps. I don't know if you use that anymore, but like that worked a lot for me.
Yeah.
That I think, you guys just filled a lot of those content gaps and even strategy stuff that I just didn't know yet. So that was really cool.
Hell yeah. That's cool to hear. And since then, like you said, you had scaled to
Here, I
10K per
think I've
month.
lost you there.
Uh-oh.
Here, can you hear me?
I can, let's see. Oh, I might be back now. Am I back now? Maybe.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, my internet connection's weird today. All right, I'll have to
All
clip
good.
that part out.
All good.
Okay. Let's see where are we at with that. Do a cut. So jumping back in. I guess we're almost up at the hour, so we can get close to wrapping this up, actually.
Okay.
Okay, now I remember what I was going to ask you. So you had said that you had got to that 10K per month over the 8 months after starting. What revenue goals and milestones have you achieved since then?
So since then, I actually dropped down below 10K because, like I mentioned, it was not sustainable. Like I just signed anybody and everybody. I signed some terrible clients, and that's one of the things that you'll learn too when you're a ghostwriter. Like not all clients are the same. There are some clients who are just so not fun to work with that they take up 90% of your, mental capacity. So like I had to kind of go through that. I had to learn that, I had to be a little bit more selective with who I worked with. I had to vibe with them on the calls because like, yeah, even if they pay you, they could be taking away a bunch of other time that you could be growing your business or, like you said, like a guy who's calling you in the middle of the night. If you're not sleeping, you're not going to be, at full, mental acuity trying to get all your stuff done during the day. So that was a lesson I learned. So I went down for a while. I was still always doing above like 6, 7, 8. But then basically once I signed with the company, this company I work with now, so I've got income coming in through them. I've got, 4 ghostwriting clients. I had 5, one left, but like, I've gotten to a place now where I can replace people pretty quickly. So like, I think on this one, I'll be at like 12. And then if I sign
Yeah.
the other one, I'm hoping to get to like 13, 14. Now I'm always aware that at any point somebody could leave. So I never try and like, count my eggs before they hatch. But like, yeah, like basically now where I'm at now, I'm not going to get below 10. I won't let that, that's kind of like my marker. I won't get below that. But like the
Yeah.
biggest thing that I had to do also wasn't just like signing clients is point A, and that helps you solve a lot of other problems. If you know how to sign clients and you know kind of the sales side of it, you're just buying yourself time to learn everything else. And now I'm more into like the system side. What systems can I implement, AI and automations and all these other things? Like I don't want to hire yet, but like I will have to hire eventually. I played around with working with other writers, but it's difficult when you're around 10K. I'd say you need
Yeah.
to be at least 20K to hire good writers that you can count on and trust. But like,
True.
yeah, everything's a learning curve. Like, it just takes time.
Definitely. What is one piece of advice that you would say to someone who's looking to get into ghostwriting?
I would say if they're just starting, I would say be patient. And that is not the answer that people want to hear. I'm well aware. It's not the answer I wanted to hear when I started. But I think being patient is the biggest thing and realizing that you're not just a writer. If you are a writer, if you were just a ghostwriter, you were going to be competing with a million other writers and a million other ghostwriters and AI and all these, companies, software companies that are using AI to come up with all these, different, content platforms. If you're just starting out as a ghostwriter, you have to learn the strategy too. You have to learn the whole process. You have to learn the sales side, the lead gen side. You have to kind of know how the whole environment works, because if I just said to you, I'm going to write a bunch of your posts, my value is actually very low. Like, none of my clients do I just say to them, I'll write you LinkedIn posts. They could go to AI or whatever and do that. What I say to them, and what I do for all like my clients that I work with, is like, okay, so we're gonna have all these monthly calls, go over your analytics. We're gonna double down on what's working and we're gonna boot what doesn't. I use a bunch of AI to take all the content that I write to run it through to like constantly be learning. Like, anything I do and talk about, I'm gonna come with the receipts. I'm not just gonna bullshit and talk about whatever. Like, if I say one thing, I'm gonna come with the receipts and show that I actually know what I'm talking about. And then if your content is bringing in leads, but they're not signing, how can I talk to a client and say, oh, well, you need to have, if you've got the time to be DMing people, how do you have those conversations? How do you move them from, hey, I like your content, to, hey, let's get on a sales call, to booking them? Or if your content is going really viral, but nobody's coming in, how can we now change that to get more inbound leads coming in? Like, for example, one of my clients gets about 2 inbound leads a day because he's put in years of work and building his brand and authority. So now that we do that, he gets that, but his business model needs that. So I know how to like write for him, because he needs like a very specific kind of posts that get those kind of inbound leads. And then some people, they only need one client a year. So how can I strategize with that person and be like, hey, look, I know you're not going to get super viral and you're not going to get leads coming in the door every day, but you need to make one sale and you've paid for me for 4 years. Everything else on that is gravy. So like, if you're a writer, you're not just a writer. You are 100 other things, and you have to learn how to wear those hats and speak to clients and kind of like guide their hand, or else your value is very low, actually. And that sounds harsh. It's not to sound harsh. Writing is still a great skill. Writing is the main pillar of it, but there is just so much more that you have to be able to do too.
I love that. You just ended this on such a clippable banger. We will definitely be using that.
Scar,
Awesome.
that's it. That's what you guys taught me. Ended on a good note, you know?
Works for video too. Definitely. As a final note, has anyone ever told you that your celebrity doppelganger is Chris Evans?
You told me one time. Who was it? You told me it was somebody else. Who was it? I can't remember, but you actually told me when we first met. You were like, "Oh yeah, you look like somebody." Chris Evans. I haven't heard that one. Yeah. Hey, I'll take that.
Yeah, you definitely look like Chris Evans in on this video call for sure.
Yeah. All
But
right.
I
Good.
don't know who I would have said last time.
Yeah. Just tell everybody when you're plugging it. Just be like, "Oh yeah, I talked to Chris the other day. Chris Evans the other day."
Yeah, the Chris. He runs a ghostwriting agency.
Yeah.
The,
He's
the
got
movie checks haven't been very big since Avengers.
exactly. Yeah. He's making more ghostwriting now than he did on Marvels.
That's why you should become a ghostwriter.
That's it. I can see the banner now, the thumbnail now.
Yeah. The story writes itself. So Alex, this has been awesome. If anybody is looking to connect with you to
Yeah.
chat about ghostwriting services, curious about just anything with what you do, or just think that you're a dope, handsome man, where can they where can they reach you?
I can use all the compliments I can get. If you want to give me a compliment, Alex Renner on LinkedIn. I think my handle's like Alex Renner 16. But yeah, just send me a DM and I'll connect with you there.
Awesome. Alex Renner, everybody. And Alex, thank you.
Perfect. So good to see you there, Taylor. Have a good one.
You too.